Cubs with a disappointing loss to Arizona on Thursday night, but you will cheer up with the second half of our show with a special guest. Here we go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am Sam Olber. Please support the show by following on your preferred audio platform, and you can watch, subscribe, and leave a comment on YouTube. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter promo code LockedOnMLB for a free water bottle with any order. You will want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Welcome in. Happy Friday to everybody listening. Couple housekeeping things before we get to it. Matt will be back for Monday's episode. Remember, he's on with us now 3 shows per week. And I am recording this right after the Cubs' defeat to the Arizona Diamondbacks. The last part of this show, or the bulk of the show, will be before that game when we had a guest on the show that was really fun to have on. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. I'm just going to recap the game here quickly. The Cubs got beat 6-2. It was a frustrating contest. There's no doubt about it. Ryan Nelson came in with very bad numbers, struggled mightily, and he was able to get results. Now, in a vacuum, when you evaluate this game, you just kind of shrug it off. It was just one of those games. I thought the Cubs swung the bats very well Thursday night, and they just found mitts. Bellinger hit a ball really well that died. Morel hit a ball really well that didn't go anywhere. Same with Dansby. Same with Seiya. On a different day, on a day like earlier in the week when they said we were going to have this huge heat wave, the Cubs probably score 5, 6, 7 runs in their own right today. But it just wasn't meant to be, and it didn't happen. As far as the other side of the ball, that's kind of what I want to talk about, because Javier Assad pitched on Thursday. He was fine. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't great. But his line is very deceiving because, he really got crushed again today. And even though the Cubs did have some bad luck in their own right on offense, so did Arizona. Arizona hit the ball really well on Thursday night. And what I'm concerned about with Assad, guys, is, I'm not a non-analytic believer. I'm a hybrid. I use analytics when they're appropriate, and I use, the old school, just use your eyes mentality when it's appropriate. But with Javier Assad, very similar to when the Cubs were struggling this year, and the underlying numbers just said, hey, this is a good baseball team, see it out. With Javier Assad, the underlying numbers say what he has done is not sustainable. He's not missing bats. The hard contact is starting to increase. The BABIP luck is astronomical. And that's why, I've said, I don't know if I've said this on the air, but I've definitely said it off where, if I'm doing a playoff rotation or, a big game, I still don't have Assad ahead of Kyle Hendricks, even though his numbers are way better than Kyle Hendricks because of that. And I think Wicks is in the conversation, and maybe when Stroman comes back, and it's nothing against Javier Assad. He has been spectacular for the Cubs, spectacular. And no matter what happens the rest of the season, that's not going to change. He gave the Cubs a huge lift when Marcus Stroman got hurt, and he might come back his next start and pitch great. I'm just saying, if you go to the analytics, if you go to the Savant pages, if you look at the StatCast data, it just tells you, at some point, his ERA should get higher. Now, maybe it won't the rest of this year because we don't have that much time left. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is Javier Assad's been awesome. This kind of start was coming, and it probably could have been a lot worse. We'll see what he does next time out. I think he'll be in Coors Field, so that not thrilled about that matchup, but we'll have to see. But these type of games happen. I think it was one of those games where if you were facing another regular guy tomorrow for the Diamondbacks, you wouldn't really care as much. But because it preceded Jamison Tyone versus Zach Gallen, now Friday's game has a little bit more urgency to it because you don't want to lose the first two games of this series and put yourself in a position where you have to win the next two. We talked about a split being fine. That's still the case. So hopefully the Cubs can bounce back and get an upset win, because this was an upset loss, but this is what happens. And this is what happens. And that's why those 3-game series, you're going to hear me talk about it later on in the show. They're just so random because, the Cubs, this could have happened to anybody. The Cubs had a big pitching advantage today. I think they closed at minus 170 or minus 175 on the books, and, came out and weren't able to get the job done. But that's part of it. I wouldn't send yourself into a panic. This weekend, it'd be great if we could win 2 of 3 and split the series and head to Coors Field feeling good about ourselves. We're still in a really good spot in the playoff picture. Dropped to 2 games now behind the Milwaukee Brewers. Wasn't really many standout performances. I thought Seiya looked great again Thursday night. That was nice to see. Keegan Thompson threw 1 solid inning, then came out for a second. That wasn't as good. But what can you do there? At least he was able to eat innings. Ross is not going to use even close to any of his high leverage guys unless the Cubs are winning right now. He's saving those bullets, and hopefully Jamison Tyone on Friday can come out and help this ball club and put together 6 strong innings and get it to the bullpen with a lead. So Cubs got beat. Coming up next, we have a very special guest who has been a listener of ours since really the first time I think we recorded. So I hope you guys enjoy our conversation. It was before Thursday's game, so a little bit of a happier tone, but he's a great kid, and I really enjoyed talking to him. That's coming up next. But first, this episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs make you look good. As summer is still in swing and fall approaches, enjoy this time of year with Bird Dogs shorts and pants. Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. If you've ever seen me in person, I need that with my legs. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of a stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fix this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so you get a slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. They also have anti-sting sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter promo code LockedOnMLB right now and order. When you do, they will add a free white tech hat with your purchase. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or promo code LockedOnMLB. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise you. The Cubs play the D-backs at 1:20 p.m. Friday, and you can listen to every pitch with a Cubs hometown broadcast on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Cubs or tune into channel 844 and catch the Cubs all season long. We are back here on Locked On Cubs. A little bit of a time warp for you. This is now before first pitch of the Cubs Diamondbacks on Thursday night. So I don't know what mood I just was in the beginning of the show, but right now I'm in a pretty decent one because I have a very special guest joining me on the show. Before I introduce him, as you could see him, I want to say it's very cool to have him on the show because him and his family were everydayers, if you will, or everyday listeners of the show much before we kind of took off, right? And much before the Cubs kind of started playing well. Mr. Carson, who is with us today, was listening all the time. This is actually his second time on the show. Carson, how are you? How is it going? How's school? How you feeling? And how about those Cubbies?
Well, I'm good. I went to school today. We got out at 2:00 on Thursdays. So that was nice. I got extra time to just stay home. But yeah, Cubs are doing great.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and you may be, the audience may be able to tell this or not, but off the air we've had a couple email exchange and conversations, and you have your own. Is it called a blog? Is that what it is?
Yeah. So every summer I do like a blog. It will either be Christmas or the summer, and So this summer we went to Cincinnati, Chicago, and then Milwaukee, all to 3 games.
Yeah, and the point I'm trying to make is I've read the blog, you've sent it to me a few times, and then we've had correspondence
Yeah.
leading up to this, and it feels like I'm talking to somebody about my age. You're 11 years old, you're in 5th grade, you're from Alabama, and it doesn't really register to me like when I was 11 years old, like you were helping me figure out how to set this thing up. You were the one that set up the, hey Sam, 5 works for me, let me know if that works, I'm on now, I could be on earlier. I almost feel like I'm embarrassed for myself.
Yeah, you were playing with toys.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into Cubby baseball. I think you have a question or two you want to ask me first, and then I'll answer it. We could kind of talk and hear your opinion because I have some things I want to hear that you think about this ball club, how you watch this ball club, etc. But you go first.
All right, so my first question is the Cubs are now 1.5 games back.
Yep.
They have 2 games left.
22, yep.
Okay. How many do you think we need to win in order to win the division?
Out of the next 22?
Correct.
So I think that's an interesting one. So I'm gonna give you the answer, but first I'm gonna do what I do and set it up in the sense that the last 3 games of the year, Carson, are against the Brewers. So those games are almost worth double. So I'm gonna say the answer is 14-8 in the next 22, assuming that part of those 14 games means you take 2 out of 3 against the Brewers the last game of the season. Does that make sense?
That does.
What do you think out of 22?
I was thinking around at least 15, around
15. Yeah, and I haven't really looked at the Brewers schedule in detail. I know they play the Marlins a bunch coming up, and I think they're in New York this weekend.
Yeah, they play the home versus Nationals next, I'm pretty sure, after the Yankees.
After the Yankees. Oh, well, that's not great.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
And
So you are a diehard Cubs fan, right? That's not the question. And you live in Alabama. I remember your dad telling us on the holiday show that there are a lot of Braves fans there. Are you friends with a lot of Atlanta Braves fans, and how does that work?
So usually I go to school and say the Cubs lost that day.
Yes.
I've got some friends who will come up to me and just start.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. I know. It's actually, you got to be careful with it now. They say not to do it. But yeah, whatever that thing's called, they do that.
Yeah.
We'll call it the Brave Wave. How's that?
Perfect.
The Brave Wave.
Yeah. So.
And they do that in your face.
Yeah. Yeah, right up to me. And so the time that they came to Chicago and we beat them, I think 2 out of 3.
Correct.
I was pretty excited. So the day I went into school, I had to be all up in their face. So that was fun.
That is fun. Now let me ask you this: is there anybody on the back of that jersey?
No, this is just Wrigley Village.
Who is, like, when I was 11 years old, I was very much into players as much as I was, the team itself. Is there any guy that like comes up to the plate or pitches on the team that you feel like, I can't miss this, this is my guy, or is it just the whole team?
Well, you got to think about it like, if you like power, I would probably say either Christopher Morel or, somebody like that.
Is that for you?
Well, I would probably go Justin Steele.
Justin Steele's your guy every 5th day, and he's a Southern guy. He's from Mississippi, right? Yeah. Right next to you.
Yep.
And he's got that thick Southern accent. He's a bulldog. Wasn't there one more question that you wanted to ask me? Was it something about who the Cubs are going to play or whatever?
Yeah. So these are the teams I think the Cubs could play the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
It would be either the Brewers, the Phillies, the Marlins,
Yep.
the Reds, the Diamondbacks, or the Giants. Who do you think you would want to play out of those 6?
Who would I want to play?
Yeah.
I, out of those 6, remember it's going to be a 3-game series, right?
Okay.
I don't. Anything could happen in a 3-game series. So at the end of the day, the Cubs could play the Royals in a 3-game series, and it could not go well. So I preface that with that. But the team I don't want to see, I think that's the easier question, is Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Power, some good starters.
A lot of power, a lot of good starters, a lot of playoff experience. If that would be in Philadelphia, it's a tough place to play. I think anybody but Philly and Milwaukee in a 3-game series, the Cubs will be heavily favored, and I would expect them to be able to come out of that. Is that fair?
That is fair. To me, I wouldn't want the Marlins either. I feel like there hasn't been one time where the Cubs have won against the Marlins.
100%. There's the Marlins part of it would just be superstitious. Like I mean, before you were born, the biggest heartbreak of my life was when the Cubs played the Marlins, and then they got swept in the COVID year.
Yeah. I just feel like I turn on MLB Network on my TV, and all I see is the Marlins walking off people.
Yeah, I agree with you. And they have some good pitchers like Alcantara and Luzardo, and that would be tricky. I think that's fair. I think you're right. I think you won that debate.
Yeah, so to me, I would either rather play the Diamondbacks or the Giants.
Yeah, or I think I'd feel okay with the Reds too.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: do you guys have in Alabama like the MLB package? Is that how you watch the games?
MLB.TV.
Yeah, MLB.TV. Yeah, so do I, but that doesn't let me watch the Cubs games because I live here. Don't get me started on that. When I try and watch a Cub game, it's like I'm trying to solve a mystery, and I live in the city. Let me ask you this: when you're at school, like so the other day they have a 120 game, Friday they have a 120 game, which is at the end of your day. How do you keep up with the games? And then the second part of that is, how do you keep up with the games at night? Do you just watch them at home at night, or do you have like other activities going on?
So at night, I usually just keep up with it on my TV in my room.
Yep.
Or, just downstairs. But during the day, at 1:20, I'm in reading class.
Yeah.
And so there's this lady named Miss Hook, and she also went to a Cubs game. I don't know which one it was, but she went to a Cubs game this summer, and she's a huge Cubs fan. So all the 120 games she lets me watch if I have all my work done.
That's so funny because you're probably the only person in the class that wants to watch the Cubs.
Yeah, my friends just come up to me, "What are you doing?"
And so does she puts it on like the classroom TV?
Well, she lets me watch it on we get these cool computers.
Got it.
And so I just pull it up on there.
Because I remember when I was your age in school, and we didn't have the iPads and stuff, but we would just have the TV in the room, and like during like the NCAA tournament or something, our teachers, they would put it on for like 20 minutes, and it was like the greatest thing in the world because it was like, hey, we're not doing school, and all right, let's do this. I'm going to let everybody know that this episode is brought to you by, and congratulations, Carson, being on for the ad, FanDuel. And football season's about to kick off. Carson, you told me before the show that you are a Alabama Roll Tide fan and a Tennessee Titan NFL fan. TBD how I feel about that. FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long, because right now when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Right now, the Chicago Bears, over-under win total is 7.5, and they're plus 6,000 to win the Super Bowl as Justin Fields and company get ready for a new season. I think the Titans might win that division with Ryan Tannehill at the helm, and Vrabel's a heck of a football coach. I may get on FanDuel and put some odds on that. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. All right. We are back here on Locked On Cubs with our very special guest, Carson, flaunting his Wrigleyville jersey. I have a couple more questions for you, and then I'll let you prepare for this baseball game that's about to start in less than an hour, 2 hours. You went to a Cubs game this year. You were here. Tell me about how many times have you been to Chicago that you remember?
2 or 3, I think.
2 or 3. And did you catch a Cubs game each time, or was it not in season?
Actually, I think I've only been to 2 Cubs games. I've been to one in 2016, I think.
Oh, that season seems to be pretty good.
Yeah. We played the Mariners, I think, and we won. But
I was at one of those games that weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was at the Saturday game, though they lost. You might have been at the Sunday game when John Lester bunted for the walk-off. Is that it? I don't know. I'm asking you this like it was yesterday. You were like 6 years old during it.
Yeah, I was going to say I fell asleep before like the 7th inning, so I couldn't even hear "Go Cubs Go."
Yeah, well, yeah, you were young. So tell me about this one, though. Tell me about this game. You probably remember that one pretty fresh.
Yeah, so it was a really rainy day. We actually got to the stadium. I think it was like an afternoon game. We got there.
Oh, I remember it.
Yeah. We got there about 2 hours before the game. Went to the stores and all that, but it was really rainy. I think it was about like an hour delay.
Yep.
So we had to wait there.
Jameson Tyone pitched.
Yeah, so it was July 2nd. We played the Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
Score was 8-6, but
you want to know why it was 8-6? It's because David Ross pitched to Josh Naylor in extra innings when he shouldn't have, and if he walked them, the Cubs would have had one of their best comebacks. But all that's in the past.
Yeah,
all that's in the past. I remember that game like it was yesterday.
And so in the 9th, I think it was in the 9th, Clase came in, and he was throwing like almost every pitch a ball. And then, of course, Mancini comes up there, striking.
Yeah, Mancini. We could fly you in from Alabama, and you could give us a more productive at bat, left-handed. Oh, Mancini. Let me ask you this. Before we get out of here, do you play baseball or any? Am I imagining this, or did you tell me you ran track or something?
Yeah, I run track and field. I like running distance.
What's that consist of at 11 years old?
So each lap is 400, and so I run the 1,600-meter race.
Oh, wow!
Track.
No, you don't play baseball?
I do not.
Yeah, good. Stay away from it. It's a really hard sport to play. I had a career batting average of about give or take about 211. All right, man. Was there anything else that you want to ask me? I mean, I think this was really fun. It was great to have you on. We really appreciate the support that you and your family's given us. Since pretty much day one. Is there any other things you want to ask or cover before we get out of here? This is your forum. You take it.
I don't know. What do you think about the game tonight?
The game. Oh, you're putting me on the spot because by the time this airs, we'll already know what the result is. I see what you're doing. So then more people will just come in the comments and make fun of me. What do I think about the game tonight? The guy pitching for Arizona has really, really struggled. Like so much so that it worries me a little because it's just like he's just been horrendous. I think his name's Ryan Nelson. I don't know if it's spelled Ryne. I don't know if it's pronounced Ryan or Ryan. Javier Assad's pitching for us. I was telling your dad off the air. It's going to be a pretty chilly night at Wrigley, a pretty gloomy night, by the way. The sun has not been out all day. So I don't know. I think if Assad pitches well, the Cubs, I mean, they're pretty heavy favorites. They should find a way to win today. And you would like to win because On Friday, you have Jamison Tyone against Zach Gallen, which, might be a game to tell Ms. Hook that she doesn't have to worry about putting the game on, because
Yeah.
I don't know if I would want to watch that reading class.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like Nelson has a 5.47 ERA.
Yeah, and he hasn't been very good. So, but who knows? Predicting this game is has gotten me gray hairs. But it's awesome to have you on, man. I appreciate it. Keep being a fan. Keep doing your thing. And I think it's so cool that you live in a different state where you're surrounded by fans of another team and you roll with your team. I think that says a lot, because I think people, when you're 10, 11, 12, 13, all the way up to your 20s, people just like to do what everybody else is doing. And sometimes that's not the way to go about it. So good for you. Thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure. Hopefully we'll be able to do it again. And hopefully the next time we chat, we're talking about a very special run.
Yeah.
Shout out to the everydayers who are with us all 5 episodes throughout the week. And you can become an everydayer just like Carson by checking us out each and every weekday. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for Locked On Cubs on YouTube and smash the like button for the algorithm. We are also on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts and streaming on SiriusXM. I'm Sam Olber. He was Carson. And this is Locked On Cubs.